I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. Thank you for joining us. And those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you very much. It really is indeed a pleasure and an honor to have you join me. Um, One of the things I want to talk about tonight, last night I spoke in my introduction about the importance of belief and momentum. And that's because I believe that there is no idea that can evolve without belief and without momentum. Tonight, I want to talk about the importance of having a support group. I am fortunate that I have friends that are very near and dear to me, some of whom have been here from the beginning or the inception of CWS. And it's the relationship we have, it's like they take no hold no prisoners, they take no prisoners. And I am grateful for that. Because there are times when our humanity will kick in, and no matter how strong we are, no matter how many motivational books we read, no matter how very spiritually grounded we are, our humanity is there and it will kick in. And then there comes doubt. And with doubt comes things like procrastination. And you need people around who can say to you, failure is not an option, and you are going to do it. I remember the very, very, very first time, not on CWS, I was invited um, to speak on the air, and I got cold feet. And I came back and I said to my friend, Dr. Sandy Anderson, I can't go on tonight. And she said to me, you are going on. You are ready. And I'll never forget that. And I went on and I started. And I've never looked back since. And while we're talking about the importance of having a support team, there's something, and the reason why I'm introducing this into my monologue is because tonight my guest, Dr. Don Elder, is going to speak a little bit about the spirit, mind, and body. And so I'm going to go on the edge a little bit with this. Um, it is important to have what I call oases of energy. And what is an oasis of energy? An oasis of energy to me is anything that can recharge you or make you feel positive. Anyone who you call, no matter what time you call them, always have something positive to say to you. It could be a scripture. It could be the memory of a wonderful event, a romantic moment. It could be a song. Whatever it is that makes you feel good, that makes you feel charged positively, that is an oasis of energy. And so there are times when you will feel down, you will feel despaired, and you will feel perhaps depressed. Some negative emotion will engulf you. That is the time to be still. That is the time to tap into one of your oases of energy. Call a friend, put on a music, whatever it is, whatever it takes to restore you. That is very important. So, those of you who are joining us for the first time, CWS is about having conversations with people about their journeys. How are they using their gifts and talents to help others? How are they, what are they doing? How are they contributing to humanity in a positive way? So I invite people here every week to share their experiences, share their journey, and hopefully we learn something. Hopefully we not only learn, but we are inspired to go or to step beyond our limitations and our challenges. Because I have come to believe that there is no success without challenges. There is no one who is successful who has not had moments when they said or they felt like quitting or they want to give it up. And so I encourage people to pursue their success. However, I also remind those people that your success doesn't only belong to you. It belongs to all of us. It belongs to others. I think each and every one of us is given a gift. And this gift is not just for us. It's for us to make a contribution to humanity in whatever way. And why I especially like tonight's guest is because one of the things she's passionate about is about giving back to young girls, right? Giving to young girls and encouraging them to pursue their dreams, especially in the sciences and so on. We'll talk about that during the conversation. But I want to take a quick break, and when I return, I will introduce you to Dr. Don Elder.
I can never resist you when you call for want to be there. Oh, could you take me by the hand, baby? Whenever you need a shoulder to cry on, you better know I'll be there. 'Cause I'm gonna be your man. Yes, I am. You're my sweet rose of Sharon, my sunny skies and my rainy days. Everything you do, girl, is so amazing. I love you, you wear my make so much beauty. It's super virgins through. Your love is like a clarion, brilliant and clearly true. Yes, super. Silly. I'll do for you. Oh, pretty baby. I bring it down as I come through your sound. You know that I be coming around. You the girl I found. Make this Jeep be going round, and that's I'm feeling.
We are back, and those of you joining us for the first time, I'm Selwyn Collins, your host of CWS Conversations with Selwyn. The lovely and distinguished lady next to me is Dr. Dawn Elder. Dr. Elder, good evening.
Good evening, Selwyn. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I want to start with your bio, just a bit of it. Dr. Elder was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. She attended St. Francois? Girls College, where she excelled and developed a passion for the biological sciences. She migrated to the U.S. to pursue her undergraduate degree and continued on to earn her 40 degrees and raise her family. Dr. Elder earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a Master of Science degree in genetics and human genetics at Howard University. As a predoctoral intramural research training award fellow at the National Cancer Institute, NCI, she conducted research in genetic polymorphisms, which may indicate increased susceptibility in developing oral cancers in people exposed to tobacco smoke. Dr. Elder earned her Doctor of Medicine degree from George Washington University, School of Medicine and Health Sciences. After medical school, Dr. Elder entered residency training. During her second year of training, she became the Associate Chief Resident at Akron General Medical Center, Northeastern Ohio College of Medicine program. In this capacity, she was a liaison and enthusiastic advocate for the residents in her program in order to help solve problems that arose. During this time, she served on several committees as the Internal Medicine Resident Representative. These included the Hospital's Utilization Review Committee, the Transitional Year Committee, and Residency Curriculum Committee, and the Academic Research Committee. There are more, but I would like to let Dr. Elder talk a little bit about her experiences and so on, so we don't cheat her out of that. Dr. Elder.
Yes.
Well, welcome to CWS. It is now, there's a statement. It is now time to give back to young women around the world who are just as I was, yearning for the education and opportunities to prepare themselves to change their lives and their communities. Is this your mission statement, and what does it mean to achieve this goal?
It's part of my mission. My mission has evolved over time. It's a significant part of my mission, and I partnered with my friend from Trinidad of many, many years, Dr. Elaine, who you know, in forming. We were one of several who formed a nonprofit organization. Camille as Camille Elaine, Dr. Elaine as the visionary for this entity, to mentor and to actually educate more young women in the space and science fields. So I'm part of that organization. I serve as secretary right now, and we're trying to get that off the ground. So that's part of my mission. The other part of my mission is, in a more general sense, as a physician, to impact nationally and hopefully internationally the way healthcare is looked at and the way healthcare is delivered. So those are two parts of the mission.
Thank you. Why is it so important to encourage kids, especially young girls, to reach beyond the stars?
Well, I believe, as many of my colleagues believe, that when you educate young women, you really educate and uplift the community in which they live, which they thrive, which they serve. So the education of young women is paramount to the sustainability of communities, nations, and the world.
And you were born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago, an oil-producing country, known among other things for its annual carnival. Give us a glimpse into that world, first as a 10-year-old, then as an adolescent.
Into the world of Trinidad and Tobago?
Into your world, into your world.
Into my world.
Well,
as a 10-year-old, let me see, I was finishing up my, the common entrance exams to go into high school. And, I had studied hard in primary school because I decided that I was going to, educating myself was the mechanism by which I can achieve anything I wanted to achieve in this world. So I was serious about it, even at that young age, that I was going to succeed. So I'd finished common entrance, I had passed for St. Francois Girls College, and I was making my way there. And I did the same thing. I was kind of a nerd, so I studied hard throughout all my formative years and did pretty well. Now, while the rest of the country is carnivaling and things, my father was a little bit strict, so we didn't participate much.
Okay. And what is your favorite memory of your mother while you were growing up in Trinidad?
Well, something I always think about, I don't know why I think about this one, is when we used to have to wake up early to commute into school with Daddy in the mornings. He taught at St. James Secondary, which wasn't far from where I went to school. And we used to have to wake up very early to beat the traffic. And I was just thinking about this the other day. Mommy used to come in and she would wake us up by pulling our toes and shaking our feet under the covers. And then she'll give us a big hug. And that's how we woke up every morning. So, and then coming home to her and, food and everything prepared because she was a stay-at-home mom. Those are the two biggest things.
What are you most proud of being a woman from the Caribbean?
Well, the thing I'm most proud of is the fact that coming up, we never had a sense of you couldn't do something. Even as a young lady, I never felt like anything that I wanted to do, I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes for whether you're a young woman or a young boy coming up. It was just, you want to do something, you study hard, and you can do anything you set your mind to.
Talking about your dad being a teacher at a time, what was that like growing up, coming home with grades, knowing Dad is a teacher and would definitely be checking your work and so on? Was that difficult for you?
Yeah. Well, my dad was lucky in the sense that I had an early love for reading. Mm-hmm. Really early. I think he was lucky. I don't know if he would say that now. But he never really had to push me too hard to get down to the books. I just always had a penchant for reading.
Uh-huh.
I read voraciously, from the time I could read. And so I studied hard and, I always managed. Like I said, I was probably what you would consider a nerd. So I always I did well. I did well.
Okay. Do you recall any special words of wisdom that you received from your parents that have shaped who you are today?
The biggest thing was to get that education, really and truly. To get that education, once you have it, you can level the playing field no matter where you go. No one can take it away from you. And it opens doors. So I think that was the biggest lesson for me.
So, what would you say is your favorite memory from high school?
Lunchtime. Well, recess and lunchtime, actually. Playing outside with the girls, because it was an all-girls school, playing rounders and stuff. Those were some good times. Playing all the games that you play in the Caribbean. Those were some good times.
You mentioned reading a lot. And I grew up in Guyana at the time when we didn't have television. I know that's a foreign concept to you. We didn't have television at all. And so we read avidly. And we challenged each other as friends about what we read. And did you read the last this and the last that? Is there a favorite story you read as a child that still resonates with you today?
Yeah, I liked To Kill a Mockingbird. And, I used to like a lot of the Mark Twain stories. And then when Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys and all those series started coming out, I read most of those. That kind of stuff. But in terms of formal literature type reading, I think To Kill a Mockingbird was probably one of my favorites.
What were some of the challenges you anticipated facing as a black woman working to let me rephrase that. What are some of the challenges you anticipate facing as a black woman working to empower young girls?
I didn't catch the last part of your question.
Okay, sorry. What are some of the challenges you anticipate facing as a black woman working to empower young girls?
Oh, many, many, many. As a black woman myself, I attended Howard University for undergrad and for graduate school. And I could have gone on to medical school there as well because I got accepted. But at that time, I had spent a lot of time in the HBCU and wanted to get a different experience. I wanted to see what being out in the quote-unquote real world would be like. So I decided GW. And at that time, I began to understand what the challenges were that people faced as, African Americans, African American women, and things like that. So I anticipate the challenges, especially in the STEM field, in the science, technology, engineering, and math fields, to be extremely challenging. But once you've accomplished something, it's time to reach back and help the others along.
Dr. L, I want to ask you for a technical assistance. Could you just move just a little bit backwards? Right. Great, wonderful. Are you comfortable that way?
Yes.
Good, wonderful. Growing up in Trinidad, you are a physician now and so on. But what was your original career inspiration while you were growing up in Trinidad?
So when it was time to decide what to do, I picked actually computer systems engineering because at that time I had a sense that computers were becoming mainstream, right? They were, you still had the big mainframes and stuff, but I sensed that this is where the world was heading. So I would have job security. I didn't know anything about computers, but this is what I was thinking at that age. I would have job security and all of this, and be able to help provide for my future family. So I actually declared a computer systems engineering major when I came up to the States. And obviously later that switched.
So what caused the switch?
So what caused the switch was I spent my freshman year really unhappy with what I was learning. Really, I realized that, all the logic and the code and all that stuff was not interactive enough for me. I miss being around people. I didn't like being in the computer room just with the computer and programming and all that stuff. I didn't like that at all. So I had to revisit, really and truly take a deep look at what it is my purpose would be. And so that began the transition back to the biological sciences.
Okay. What challenges did you have prior and during med school?
So during school, during undergraduate and graduate years, I started a family. I got married. I started a family. I had the 2 girls. So by the time I got to medical school, I had a young family that I was raising, and still, young enough to still believe you can do anything you set your mind to. So the challenge was balancing studying with the family, basically, because medical school, as you can imagine, is no easy task. So that was the main challenge.
And what is the last helpful advice someone has ever given, or sorry, the least helpful advice someone has ever given you?
The least helpful advice, I have to think about that for a second. Probably to, just stay where you are, because when I was making the decision to either go to Howard or go to GW, I think someone said to me, why don't you just stay at Howard? You know the place already. No need to rock the boat, that kind of thing. Basically, don't stretch. And what I've come to learn about myself is I love a challenge. So I felt I needed to stretch.
And so how would you say it motivated you, them telling you that?
Well, in a sense, it gave me, I can do it. More of that, I can do this. Don't worry, I'll be okay. I'm gonna make it anyway, in spite of your advice.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So, what is it about hematology that appeals to you?
So, hematology and oncology appeal to me because there's so much. It's one of the most rapidly evolving fields in medicine right now. There's so much that we're beginning to understand. There's so much more to still understand about disease processes, especially hematology, with knowing how cells, because hematology is about, the study of basically blood cells and things like that, knowing the mechanisms of how the cells work, hopefully can crack the code on things like cancer. So intellectually stimulating. And then there was also the spiritual side of cancer for me. My mom asked me that one day, why did I pick something so sad to do, to study, oncology and stuff. And at the time, I felt like, number one, it's a privilege. It really is a privilege to take that road with someone who has received such a heart-wrenching diagnosis. It's the time in someone's life when they allow themselves to be most vulnerable, which we don't normally see people being vulnerable. And it's the time when they begin to focus on what's really important in life. So there's no pretense or anything like that, which I cherish. And then, of course, like I said, just taking that journey with them, whether it's to success and to cure, or whether it's to the transition, is really a privilege. So there were 2 aspects to it: the intellectual stimulation, and then the spiritual side of it for me.
So That's interesting. That's actually so profound. What kind of satisfaction do you get when you treat someone and you see some form of success or improvement?
Um, it's difficult to describe. Definitely, when you feel like you've helped somebody get well or get better or beat the odds, there's nothing like it. There's just a profound sense of meaningfulness, I should say, about the whole process and how this person has emerged one way or the other. Even if they pass on, at some point there's a relinquishing of the machinery of the ego. And I don't want to get too spiritual here, but either way it goes, it's a very satisfying journey.
At the National Cancer Institute, NCI, you conducted research on genetic polymorphisms, which I understand may indicate increased susceptibility to developing oral cancers in people exposed to tobacco smoke.
Right.
Can you share with us some of your findings during the research?
Well, basically, again, at that time, it was several years ago, so we were the data was starting to indicate that, even though some people are exposed to toxins like cigarette smoke or alcohol and things like that, some people may develop cancers and some people may not. So we were trying to understand, is there something in the DNA of that person that's protective or not? And yes, there was some indication, some early indication that there were different genetic maps, let's say, that may make someone susceptible to developing cancer. So this was several years ago.
That was. Would it be fair then? You did some research on sickle cell. I want to ask you, what surprised you the most about your research in sickle cell disease?
What was pleasant and surprising is that the sickle cell research that I did was actually with stem cell transplantation. So basically, you can replace the bone marrow of someone who's afflicted with sickle cell with someone who either has the trait or does not, quote-unquote normal bone marrow, and actually cure an individual of that disease. But stem cell transplantation is a very rigorous, very very tough treatment, but it's curable. It's very rewarding.
You were are you still being trained in stem cell transplantation?
So once I finished my subspecialty training in hematology and oncology, I left that behind. So I'm no longer involved in that in my work today.
Oh. So tell us a little bit about what you actually do right now in the medical field.
So right now I am transitioning. As I said earlier, my mission has evolved to entail two parts, and I'm transitioning right now to begin the development of the second part of my mission. So right now, as a physician, I am a contractor to a couple, 2-3 of the hospitals in this area, where I pretty much practice internal medicine until I get my vision off the ground.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was at the FDA, at the Food and Drug Administration. I spent some years there in the drug development process, where I was in the oncology division, part of a team that reviewed applications from pharmaceutical companies to approve or not approve drugs for cancer.
Did you have you noticed many promising breakthroughs in that area?
Oh yes, during my time there, we've had more than a couple drugs that have come on the market that have made a wonderful difference in the treatment of breast cancer. For example, there's Herceptin, And Herceptin was approved during my time there, and other drugs like pertuzumab and things like that. So there's been some real breakthroughs that are really prolonging lives.
Let's take a break.
Bedroom, I'm thinking about the times that you and I shared, baby. Yeah, I'm fantasizing of your love and your touch. Oh, girl, I love you so much. Oh, girl, yeah. All right. You put a song in my heart, a smile on my face every time I'm with you, baby. Yes, you do, honey. Oh, yeah. I don't wanna love nobody else. I wanna share my life with you. You're an angel from the heavens. You make my dreams come true. Yes, you are. All my dreams, you give me strength. I'm feeling alright. You make me feel so right, girl. Everything I do for you. I'm gonna love you my whole life long. My whole life long. I'm feeling alright, yeah.
Feeling alright, yeah, feeling alright.
I can never resist you when you call for me. I want to be there. Yeah. Oh, could you take me by the hand, baby? Whenever you need a shoulder to cry on, you better know I'll be there. 'Cause I'm gonna be your man. Yes, I am. You're my sweet rose of Sharon, my sunny skies and my rainy days. Everything you do, girl, is so amazing. Baby, I love your way. You emanate so much beauty. Exuberance virgins through. Your love is like a clarion, really.
We are back with the lovely Dr. Elder. Dr. Elder, as a woman of color, what are some changes you would like to see in your field to encourage young black girls to pursue medicine?
So I definitely want to see more people of color, period, but especially young women. So this is why one of the things that I'm given by is reaching back and encouraging young women of color to continue to pursue, the STEM fields, because it's so critical. It's so critical to our evolution as a people. To have more of us represented in this area, in medicine, and in many of the other STEM fields.
Spirit. Sorry, go ahead.
No, because I think, if we have more representation, I feel like that would lead to more studies being done where we can really get a sense of how diseases impact us and how they should be treated in our population, because there'd be more advocacy, I think.
Okay. Spirit, mind, body. From treating symptoms to preventing diseases and restoring health. What does this mean to you, Dr. Elder?
So what it means basically is, I think the way we practice medicine, or the way healthcare is done, is not working. In the sense that people are living longer, but they're living with more ailments, more diseases. And I think a lot of that has to do with we're not really trying to get to the root cause of what's causing a lot of this dis-ease, dis-ease. And I think just the mere putting the Band-Aid on the symptoms and giving medicines is important, but it's not the whole story. So I would like to see more of healthcare, first of all, putting the care back into the healthcare. And then second of all, addressing what is it that's really driving these epidemic proportions and chronic illnesses throughout our country and throughout the world, but mostly here in North America.
Let me just go to the chat room. There's Ken said, "Hail up Trinidad," and Faye said, "What are some of the most common types of problems you see in your field?"
The most common types of problems, well, in general internal medicine, which is the foundation of where we start before we move on into a specialty, things like obesity, diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease, that kind of thing. In hematology, which is, as you know, the study of blood disorders, anemia is a big thing. It seems like so much of the population is anemic. It's just mind-boggling. And then oncology, what we're noticing is that a lot more younger people, especially younger women are becoming afflicted with breast cancer, and it's becoming more aggressive. So that's a spectrum of what I believe we're seeing more of now.
And then Faye said, asked again, what kind of cancer breakthroughs would you like to see in the future?
So the breakthrough that I would like to see, Faye, is really a decrease in the incidence of cancers across the board. Because I think while it's important to get the new drugs and to study the transplants and to do all these things, should someone be afflicted, unfortunately, I think the bang for the buck really is in preventing these chronic illnesses, of which cancer is the quintessential chronic illness the way we understand it today. So we're able with our drugs to have people live longer for the most part, so it's become a chronic illness. But why are there more people becoming afflicted? That is where I'd like to see the breakthrough, prevention.
And then there's Ken who asked, what are some precautions against cancer can we take?
Well, what I've come to believe, now there are no guarantees, okay? As we get older, as human beings get older, we all, biological variation comes into play here, whether you're looking at human beings or plants or whatever. So we all produce cells that are not normal. Each one of us, especially as we get older, we produce cells that are not normal. So the key, I think, to preventing that cell or those few cells that are in our bodies that we're unaware of from really taking a hold is to change the terrain or the environment in which the cells may become cancerous or become malignant. So what I mean by that, one of my favorite authors that I've begun reading lately says, basically it's like the cancer cell is like a seed. When you plant a seed, if it's good fertile soil, that seed will grow into a beautiful plant, whatever it is. So the cancer cell is the same thing. If we change the terrain of where that cancer cell is, meaning your body, the immune system, inflammation, that kind of thing, you are less likely to develop a cancer. Now, it's not saying that you won't, but I believe that you're less likely. And the data is showing that that's probably true. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Can you tell us about your vision to provide integrative medicine services to all, especially the underserved populations, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, because it's important to me because the disadvantage in our society, that's really the population that sees the largest impact of chronic illnesses. Again, going down the spectrum from obesity, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, everything. Those are the people who are most afflicted by these illnesses. So to me, it just makes sense that, that it's imperative to really develop a method of impacting the health of those people. And integrative medicine became a passion of mine over the last year or two. Again, through my own personal journey, in my own health and well-being, and the things that I learned for myself, because one of the things you may or may not know, in medical school, you're learning how to treat illness with drugs and things like that, right? You're not really taught, maybe more so now, but when I was coming through, you're not really taught how to prevent illnesses, not on a large scale. So in my own journey, as I got older and I started wondering how stress would impact my life, I started looking at not just treating symptoms I might have. I take a little Aleve for some back pain or whatever. But how can I prevent it? How can I restore my body to optimal health with each year that I get older? So I started to look at really how the mind and your thoughts impact your body, how your mind impacts the terrain where a cancer cell or a chronic illness of one type or another might evolve. So it was a very personal journey. And so now what I've learned for myself, I'd like to extend to others. So integrating conventional medicine, because I'm not saying that the medicines are not good. What I'm saying is we require, I think at this stage, more than just medication. We require really looking at what is the root cause of these illnesses and how we can prevent them. And if somebody has them, what is the optimal way of restoring that person's health, if possible. So we impact with nutrition, with exercise, with meditation, with yoga, with all these things, all these modalities.
Okay. Jill asked, why do children get cancer at such an early age?
Yeah, good question, Jill. I think, again, no one knows the answer, but if I was to hazard a guess, and this would be a guess, is that in that grand scheme of biological variation, I think some kids, unfortunately, are born with a terrain or a genetic predisposition to getting some of the cancers earlier. And again, I think that's just part of the spectrum of being human being, unfortunately.
Okay. And Annie asked, if one does a mammogram and nothing negative is found, is it necessary to do one every year, or can it be extended, or can be extended the period, say to 2 years, age 50, and the age is 50?
So there are general guidelines for screening mammographies, and what I would say is the best thing is to work with your doctor on the timeline for you. In general, even though you have a negative mammogram 1 year, the recommendation is that you continue to have them on an annual basis, yes, because some cancers may pop up in that year between a -1 and the +1. So sometimes cancers can be so fast growing or aggressive that it may be within that year. So the recommendation is to, yes, continue to have them. But again, your doctor knows you and knows your particular situation, so work that out with him or her.
And Jill asked, any advice do you have for young students aspiring to enter medicine?
Yes. So if we have young people who are aspiring to enter medicine, see, that brings a smile to my face. Encourage them to really work hard and do well. It's a very, very competitive field to get into. You know, you have to have the grades and stuff, and do well on your tests. So, and then get some experience working with people. Volunteer at the hospitals. Go to the nursing homes. You know, just give some of your time and really help people and serve people in that way. Because it's not just about treating diseases. It's about humanity. It's about human beings and being able to relate to them and care for them and that kind of thing. So get some volunteer time in, do some internships at hospitals as you get older if you can, or do some research if you think you're going to be a research type physician to find you know, more treatments or cures for diseases. But get some experience as well.
Okay. And Esther asked rather, there has been a lot of talk about the link between the consumption of meat and the growth of cancer cells. What is your opinion on this?
So, good question. So, my opinion is based on the information that's coming out from studies, that this is quite true because cancer cells, let's go back to that conversation about terrain. Cancer cells seem to like to thrive in an environment where there's a lot of inflammation in the body. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is when the immune system is down. And the meats that we're eating a lot of today comes from animals who are not grass-fed, unfortunately. And what we're learning is that when you eat that type of meat, it sets up a lot of, you might not feel it, you might feel okay on the outside, but internally it sets up a lot of inflammation in the body. And there are studies that are showing this. So when you eat a predominantly meat diet, you're building terrain where a cancer cell might be, you know, might decide, well, hey, this is nice terrain and I'm going to grow and I'm going to flourish here. So my opinion is actually based on a lot of the studies that are coming out now, that a predominantly meat-fed diet, especially meat from animals that are not fed grass, can lead to an increased risk of cancer.
What is it like studying a complicated case and knowing you have the skills to restore, give, or save someone?
Well, actually, it's very humbling because, to be honest with you, a lot of times we're not sure if we're going to impact someone in a positive way. At least for me, anyway. I'm not that arrogant to think that I know everything and that what I'm doing is definitely going to work. A lot of what we do is based on statistics, and if statistics tell us that this particular treatment is likely to prolong someone's life, then you know we go by that and we treat the person with that treatment or chemotherapy or medication. But you know, if the outcome is a good one, of course it's very satisfying, it's very rewarding, and like I said, there's nothing like it for me, at least. But if the outcome is not, even though you've done all you can with what you know and what you have, and the outcome is not favorable, it's you know, it can be very sad.
Any tips and things learned along the way to pass on to others?
Any tips on?
Any tips and things that you might have learned along the way
Yes,
to pass on to others?
others?
Mhm.
In the sense of, yes, in my own journey. And things I still struggle with, okay? Because I am not saying that I've totally overcome a lot of my own personal challenges, like exercising, you know, and things like that. But what I'm learning is if you conduct yourself in such a way where your diet is predominantly a plant-based diet, not advocating, you know, stopping eating meat, but be conscious of the kind of meat that you're buying and make sure that's organic, grass-fed meat. And that goes for eggs, chicken, all that kind of stuff. You know, predominantly plant-based fruits, vegetables, the things that we were naturally provided with to eat, and then move the body. Our bodies were built to move, and exercise is important. Relaxation, downtime is whatever that looks for you, whether it's time reading or meditating or praying or playing or whatever it is. Make time for that. Relationships with those with your family, friends, community, all of those things impact your terrain. And striving to making yourself a healthier individual, I think, decreases your risk of getting cancer, and God forbid you get cancer, it decreases your risk of dying from it. Again, nothing is 100%, but we'd like to beat the odds.
We are in the digital era with cyberspace and the ubiquitous Facebook. How has cyberspace affected the way you listen to or communicate with your patients?
So it hasn't really impacted the way I communicate with patients. The bottom line is, yes, a lot of our medical records and things like that, everything's becoming electronic. We have access to all kinds of digital studies and scans and this and that. But essentially, the communication between a physician and a patient, I think, should stand the test of time, should be between human being to human being, and should be a partnership. Okay, one where there's mutual trust, there's integrity, there's mutual caring, and the physician, I think, increasingly should become an advocate for that patient, taking a lot of the responsibility of his or her health, in their own hands. So encouraging that patient to learn to do the exercises, to eat right, that kind of thing is important.
June said, the key to all this is lifestyle change. Great. G asked, has there been any research on whether the parent's lifestyle can cause the terrain that encourages the growth of cancer in children? If so, is there any support for such a conclusion?
No, I don't. I think your question is specific to kids or just everyone in general as far as your terrain. So this whole thing about genetics, another area that we're learning so much about. Basically, we're understanding that your genes don't necessarily, that is your inherited genes, don't necessarily determine your outcome. Okay, you pretty much have a lot of control on the outcome. So if I take myself for an example, turning mid-30s, coming down to 40s, I'm starting, I'm not moving about the hospital. I got this job at the FDA. I'm sitting down for the most part all day. And then I have a little extra money now because I'm not training, so I'm out to dinner with my friends and all this stuff. I start to gain weight. But in the meantime, the job is stressful. I'm a single parent now. I've got the 2 girls to raise and all this stuff. So there's stress going on mentally. There's, the physical aspect of getting older and gaining weight and things like that. And one day I said to myself, if I continue like this, my destiny is that I'm going to develop hypertension and diabetes. Because everybody in my family, both sides, are afflicted with one or the other or both. And what we're starting to see now in my mother's generation is a lot more cancer. So I said, you know what? This was before I had, understood how all this thing worked. I said, I don't want to be taking pills and things. So before all that happens, I'm going to buckle down and do what, this was just sort of intuitive. Just do what I need to do so that I don't, go into my doctor's office one day and then she says, you're borderline diabetes, you have to eat right, exercise, or something like that. I was terrified of that. So I took things into my own hands and slowly started to, consider eating more of the right things and things like that. So while my genes might say that I'm going to be a diabetic by the time I'm 50 something or whatever, or I'm going to have high blood pressure, I was bound and determined that I'm not going to fall prey to just believing that that's my destiny. And I work at it every day, and sometimes I fall short, but for me, that's my own personal story. And so for me, that's what I communicate or try to communicate to my patients. You know what I mean? Your genes don't have to be your destiny. Unfortunately, for children who develop cancers, that sort of genetic susceptibility to developing that cancer, I don't believe is passed on by genes. That's sort of a Darwinian, variation that unfortunately some kids are afflicted with. But I don't think parents should blame themselves for the child that has developed a leukemia or things like that. No.
I see.
I don't know. I'm not a pediatrician and I'm not a pediatric oncologist, but I don't believe that this has been rigorously studied because of ethical issues. But, you might want to talk with someone who is specialized in pediatrics.
If you had a set of steps towards achieving your goal of preventing diseases and or diseases and restoring health, what are some of those steps you plan on taking to, shift your old paradigm towards medicine, to how you practice?
Yeah. So the first thing you got to get a sense of is everybody's a little different. So you got to get a sense of where the patient is at in their life. And that means a complete assessment, not just of the health, the physical body, but a complete assessment of the stressors that they might be undergoing in their lives, right? I think not everybody is spiritually inclined, so assessing that is also, to me, important. Bringing all three together, if possible, or maybe just mind and body for those who, because not everybody believes in the soul and the spirit like I do. But getting a sense of where that patient is and what may be the root cause of the development of whatever the chronic illness is, then you decide, what approach to take. So for me, it started with a spiritual knowing and then working on my thoughts, because thoughts become things. And then finally, the last breakthrough was in translating that into my physical body health. But for everybody, it might be a different place to start. Some people, you have to address the obesity or the diabetes right away. You might have to bring the sugar down or bring the blood pressure down. You've got to do that first because that impacts acutely what might happen to that patient. But as you talk with them more, you might want to, if they agree, you might want to incorporate some more of the social, psychological aspects of their lives and things like that and address that. Because that, as I've been saying, affects the terrain as well.
Let's take.
Was an average day, dull in every way until the sun broke through. It wasn't in the sky, no. The light came from her eyes. She turned the gray sky blue. On that cool September morning, I saw her in the rain. To me, she was a movie star to the world. She was just Jane, yeah, but she's everything to me. She's just Jane, yeah, and she's all I'll ever need. She gives more than she takes, and she takes my breath away. Oh yeah, in the world's eyes, she'll always be Because of her, my world has changed. Yes, it has. I tried to catch her eye as she was walking by first. At first she seemed confused. I saw she wasn't sure. My smile was meant for her. I said, I can't help notice you. And when you find that someone special, you don't let them slip away. So tell me what your name is. She answered by saying just Jane. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, 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 and she's all I'll ever need. She gives more than she takes, and she takes my breath away. In the world's eyes, she'll always be just Jane. But because of her, my world has changed. Is her love, and her love's just mine. Oh, she's just Jane, and she's all my bedroom. I'm thinking of the times that you and I shared. Yeah, I'm fantasizing of your love and your touch. Oh girl, I love you so much. Oh girl, yeah. Alright. You put a song in my heart, a smile on my face every time I'm with you, baby. Yes, you do, honey. Oh yeah. I don't wanna love nobody else. I wanna share my life with you. You're an angel from the heavens. You make my dreams come true. Yes, you are. All my dreams, you give me strength. You give me strength. I'm feeling alright. You make me feel so right, girl. Everything I do for you. I'm gonna love you my whole life long. My whole life long. I'm feeling alright, yeah.
Feeling alright. Yeah, feeling alright.
I can never resist you when you call for me. I want to be there. Oh, could you take me by the hand, baby? Whenever you need a shoulder to cry on, you better know I'll be there. 'Cause I'm gonna be your man. Yes, I am. You're my sweet rose of Sharon, my sunny skies and my rainy days. Everything you do, girl, is so amazing. Baby, I love your way. You emanate so much beauty. Exuberance burgeons through. Your love is like a carrier.
Question I have for you is, well, let me go to the chat room. Jill asked, any technologies you're familiar with, not already in the Caribbean, that you believe can benefit the region?
Any technologies, one more time, that I'm familiar with.
That is not in the region, that is not in the Caribbean, that can benefit the region.
Ah, you know what? I am pleasantly surprised that, at least I haven't visited some of the other islands from a medical perspective, but at least in Trinidad has a lot of the equipment, that we would use here. I think the difference is just the way the system is set up. You might not always have access to getting all the tests. I mean, in the U.S., we run people through CT scanners like if it's a waterfall or something. But I think Trinidad is one of the islands that's fortunate to have a lot of the technology. I don't know about the other islands, but certainly if some of the technology is not available, I think it will be helpful. However, having said that, I think a physician is a good physician is a good physician, and the bottom line is the conversation you have with the patient and the physical exam, and then everything else is supplemental. You have a good conversation with the patient, you have a good physical exam, you could diagnose quite a bit from just that. And then the technology just adds a little more detail to it. So having said that, I think things are okay at home anyway.
What is it like to balance your practice, research, and family life? What is it like to balance your practice, research, and family life?
Okay, so one of the things I've done is I've stepped away from a lot of the research. So I'm mostly involved now in patient care. And the challenge mostly with being a physician is the time factor. It really comes down to the time that you spend with your family should really be quality time. Because a lot of times, depending on your specialty, there's not enough quantity. And it's one of the reasons becoming a single parent during my subspecialty training, that I decided to go work for the government. It was one of the reasons, was because the hours were regular, and I felt like my priority was the children. So now that they're older, I can go back and get involved in a lot more patient care. But the research, so much, I've let that go because, as I said, my focus now is really being an advocate for preventive medicine and integrative medicine, and bringing that to especially the disadvantaged populations. Because I think that's where the real health impact will be.
And Carol asks, what drives you?
What drives me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Really? Now that's a very spiritual question. What drives me is I believe that this is the purpose I was made for. I believe that this is why I was put on the earth. And I'm not saying that lightly. I have had occasions where I have not listened to the call, and I always have to go back to it. So now I'm going to listen, and it's just, from now until I leave this earth plane, I am given by this.
And Ken asks, do you meditate, and how can that help in help healing, if you believe that?
Yeah, I do. I wouldn't say I'm proficient in it, but I started about a little over a year or so. Or let's say I'm not disciplined in it. I am evolving myself in meditating. And what I've noticed is one of the things I can do, even if I am in a stressful situation, I find myself, and I noticed this, I was pleasantly surprised, being more calm than I would normally be. And that's just in general, not just, in patient care or anything, just in general in life. And the way that I think that meditation and these modalities assist us in restoring health and balance back into the body is through the relaxation response that we develop. Because when we're stressed out, okay, our bodies are in a situation of fight or flight. Okay, we're in that situation like back in the old days when we were cavemen running from the lion or the antelope. Our bodies can't tell that we're not in that situation, right? All it knows is that it's getting stress signals from the brain to the body. And it sets up a persistent elevation of things like adrenaline and other hormones and other chemicals from the brain that, you know, with long-standing exposure to that type of thing, really deteriorates our bodies. So meditating and praying or yoga and other types of things, one of the things that happens is it gets your body back into a restorative or relaxed state so that you're not exposed constantly to these fight or flight mechanisms, which is one of the things that decreases our immune system and it sets us up for inflammation. And it's one of the things that changes the terrain and, you know, creates a situation where chronic illnesses can develop.
I guess that saying stress kills is true then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's more than just stress too, huh? It's stress to the point where you actually develop a sense of helplessness. Like life, like you feel like your life is just tossing you around and you have no control. That's an additional component that really impacts your well-being. So, and the you know, a lot of the data is showing this, and it has shown it for years actually. But you know, a lot of our healthcare is driven by pharmaceutical companies. Everybody knows that. And you can't patent meditation. You can't patent a plant. You can't patent that stuff. But it's what the Eastern traditions have known for thousands of years, that you know, these things impact your well-being in a positive way. And I believe merging conventional medicine with some of these tried and true thousands of year old traditions will really be helpful.
Well, what would you say caused this transformation, or caused you to really examine the this new paradigm?
Yeah,
What started that?
Good question. I was expecting it because it's one that I've thought about for a long time, and it was a constellation of events. So, in my second year at the National Institutes of Health, when I was studying hematology and oncology and doing a lot of the participating in a lot of the stem cell transplant clinical trials. One day I walked into a patient's room. Patient was in intensive care, hooked up to all the machines and all the stuff, had just undergone transplant maybe a week or two earlier and developed an infection, which is the thing that kills a lot of patients, unfortunately, after transplant because your immune system is so out of whack. So I walked in the room and all of a sudden I had, you know, like what Oprah says, an aha moment. I looked at the patient and I said to myself, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Is this the way it's supposed to be? Are we helping or are we hurting more than anything else? In our quest to find a cure, and it's all, you know, all this work is valuable, but should there be another way? So that was the first aha moment. And I think what came after that, a constellation of things like in my own life and noticing that stress was really impacting me. I didn't have the ability to rebound from stressful situations like I did when I was younger. So the two sort of paralleled. What was happening in the clinical setting, what was happening in my own life. And I said, more than I knew, it was sort of something deep within me said, you know what, this is not the way it should be done. This is not the way it should be done. There's something that we're missing here. And going through the process of, you know, in my own life, thinking about my own health, and then thinking about reflecting on what I had trained in and things like that. Sort of, nothing happens by accident. I sort of started thinking about, well, what if we step back from the point where somebody actually develops cancer? What was happening before that? How was their health? How was their living conditions? What was happening before we got to where this person had to undergo stem cell transplant, is now in ICU, prognosis is grave, and that patient's going to die. So it was through that whole inquiry, my own journey into spiritual development and my own health, and paralleling that with what was happening in healthcare. And then I started reading, and it seemed like everything I was thinking was borne out in the things I was reading. So that's how I know. Somebody asked how I know what drives me, is because I came to this intuitively, and then I found the answers in the stuff that I was reading. And I was like, yeah, I knew this deep down in my soul. So to make a long story short, Selwyn, it was kind of like that. I hope that makes sense. It was roundabout, but that's how it happened.
Sharon asked, how often should one get a mammogram?
Generally speaking, every year is the recommendation, once a year. Any sooner than that, usually as if, the physician is following something they might see. But every year is the general recommendation for most people.
Okay. DSACCB said, just a comment, Dr. Elder, I sincerely admire medical professionals with spiritual integrity, and you are clearly one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, I hope to make some sort of contribution, even if it's just to one or two people, in terms of changing their lives in a significant way. Like I said, nothing is guaranteed. Ultimately, it's to the Creator to decide what happens with any individual. That's my personal belief. But I am guided by, my intuition and what I think should be done, and then what I've learned. So hopefully that helps somebody along the way.
I'm curious, what have been some of the reactions you've had to your approach to medicine, pros and cons? What have been?
Yeah, so from people who are not medically affiliated has been very positive. And that has been encouraging for me, because that's the people I will serve, right? Regular people like me on the street, very, very positive, because one of the things everybody knows is that people are using supplements and herbs and all kinds of things that they wouldn't necessarily admit to their physicians. This is also a billion-dollar industry. People are spending out of their pocket on all kinds of things. So that has been met very positively. I think the medical establishment may now be sort of coming around to seeing that, we need to partner with alternative or complementary medical type of medicines to enhance health. But that's going to be a journey. That's going to be a journey, because, like I said, a lot of this is driven by a lot of how we practice is driven by the pharmaceutical industry, and just like any other lobby, that's a mountain to climb.
And belief plays a very important role.
Belief plays a very important role, absolutely. Believing that that your body innately is made to repair itself, believing that is half the battle. Because if you believe that your body was created to repair what might have been, for the most part, most things that could go wrong with it, and that our exposure to all kinds of toxins, since we've become industrialized and things like that, has sort of negated that ability to restore health on its own, then it's imperative that we do what we can to assist.
You know,
But our bodies are built to repair.
in a strange kind of way, I believe that since I was a child, in a way. I don't eat a lot of things, and no one, and my mom, God really bless her, used to cook 2 pots in the home. Um, would not force me to eat what I didn't want to eat, and I grew up believing that for some reason, my body has an intelligence that knows what I shouldn't ingest. And I didn't care. I never suffer from social pressures. I would go out, people would eat whatever they want, and that's fine with me. And then I met a doctor, someone like you actually, incidentally, and in the bookstore one day, and we were talking about diet, and he said to me, "You're right not to eat what you don't like to eat. Your body innately knows what is good for
Yes.
it, and when it wants something, it will
Yeah,
give you the desire for it, and so on and so forth."
absolutely.
So I really do believe in this.
Yeah, yeah. That's good, Selwyn, that you recognize that at a young age. I have to admit that all of this was, not too long ago for me, because I sort of rested on my laurels, being a smaller size person. Um, I never had to contend with weight and all this stuff, so I took my body for granted until it started talking, at least until I started listening to it.
Yeah,
I didn't pay attention for many years until recently. I said I've got to do something different because I'm heading down the path, and that won't be good.
if you were to lighten up on yourself, let's you have an aha moment. You were to lighten up on yourself. What would you stop doing, or what would you stop telling yourself?
What would I stop telling myself? Probably something that I can't,
Mm,
that I can't do such and such or whatever, which was like I think I mentioned when I was coming up, there wasn't anything that I didn't think I could do. I couldn't do, I should say.
uh,
But as I got older, I became less self-assured, less confident in my abilities. Endured a lot of challenges, and sort of spiritually weakened, I guess, over time. And so one of the things I'm learning to go back to is this thing of I can do anything that I set my mind to.
that is very important.
Yeah.
Sometimes failure can be the greatest teacher,
Yeah.
and sometimes it can be the greatest enemy, because failure could make us believe, or cause us to believe that we're not good enough, and
Yeah.
cause us to doubt ourselves and doubt
Right.
our innate beliefs.
Yeah.
But
I
if
spent some time
yeah,
there.
if we look at failure not as a cruel joke, a cosmic cruel joke, or cruel cosmic joke,
Yeah.
but as a stepping stone
Right.
to success, then it makes a difference.
Right.
Because it's very important to believe. And one of the things I always advocate, because we are humans, and there will be doubt at times, and we will doubt ourselves. There are incidents and circumstances and events that will cause us to doubt the very thing we believe in. And this is why I often advocate, have people around you, people in your life that are strong enough, that understand who you are, that can remind you of what is important,
Yeah.
and who you are. Because sometimes you forget. Sometimes tragedies and circumstances can cause you to forget who you are. And so it is very important to have positive people in your life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's very true.
saying that, what are you most proud of?
So, most proud of my children,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that they're so number one, intelligent. They're good girls for the most part. I don't have any behavioral issues, and the fact that they are comfortable talking to me about many things, a wide variety of things. I really treasure that. and we laugh a lot and joke a lot. So I'm proud of that. And of course, I look back now on the journey, and I can say that it was truly a journey that was made for me. When you're going through it, you can't, you don't really appreciate moment by moment. But so I'm finally feeling proud of what I've accomplished through all the challenges. Yeah, so those two things.
You mentioned journey, and I believe that reflection gives us the best glimpse on a
Yeah,
journey. You
yeah.
know.
Hindsight is 2020.
Yes, exactly. Same thing. um, I admire that you're inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's quote and make it one of your own. And the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. I really like that. What is the work that you do with youth to empower not only themselves but also their communities?
So, what I do now is I joined a organization that works or mentors medical students of African American heritage, and sort of just guides them into what they should do along the path, basically, is what I've started doing. And then I look forward to when Dr. Elaine's organization is up and running, and that she's reaching out, and then I'll, reach out once things are running along to young women who, we'd like to encourage into the STEM fields. So we're pretty new on this path, but like I said, I hope I'm blessed with many more years and I can contribute some more.
We hope so too. Is this your dream profession?
Is this my dream profession?
Yes.
Yes. I've considered I've tried all kinds of things in the meantime, and I always come back to this. And the only other thing that I think I could do if I wasn't a healer, because that's what I consider myself, a healer. Like, it doesn't have to look like medicine anymore. It can be anything that heals mind, body, spirit. I would probably teach. I could see myself teaching.
You are teaching.
Well, yes.
Yeah, you
I
are.
know what you mean, but formally.
What can you tell us about you,
Yeah.
right? What can you tell us about you that most people do not know?
Good question, because I'm a fairly open book, I think. What most people, I guess this part of my life where I'm becoming so spiritually connected, I think people probably might not be aware of how deep that really goes. Maybe the thing that I may be waiting to reveal. Let's put it that way.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you listen well? And I mean, I know you're a physician and you're trained to listen, but I'm going to go into that spiritual space with you.
Mm-hmm.
And in that context, I ask you this question: do you listen well?
I do.
And are you obedient?
Am I obedient?
Mm-hmm.
In what context?
In that same context.
In the spiritual context, I am becoming increasingly so. So if I find myself not wanting to listen, I remind myself, look, you've not listened before and you know what happened, so listen. So I'm becoming more so.
So do you practice being still?
I do. It's a practice I'm developing. It's very important. I practice being still, even if for a few moments.
Right.
It's very profound to connect.
What do you
with
find most... Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's very, very profound. Even for a few seconds, I'm getting very good at connecting very quickly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find most rewarding after coming out of being still?
What's most rewarding is the feeling of relaxation and being one with Source or God or
Yes.
however you want to call it. And actually, what I'd like to do in my own life is develop the ability that every moment I feel connected, okay, I'm aware of the connection, so that your life is sort of a living meditation, a living prayer. I think I heard Deepak Chopra say that, or I read that somewhere. You know, that to me is the ultimate experience of life.
I like to look at it as two steps. The awareness, and then being aware of the awareness. And but that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Um, what is your favorite type of music for relaxation?
I like jazz. I like R&B. I listen to the quiet spiritual stuff, you know, depending on my mood. Some reggae. I actually like all kinds of music, you know. So depending on my mood, it determines what I would listen to. But I like all kinds of music. My mother said I was dancing before I could walk. I would sit there and rock. She always tells that story. So that might be the other thing. I might have been a musician, if not a physician.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
One day, and this is a hypothetical. One day you find yourself back in time, and bumped into the 13 years old Dawn.
Yeah.
What would you tell her?
I would tell her it's okay. It's okay. Now, that simple two words, we can't go into where that comes from, but I would tell her, hold my hand and let's go. It's okay. Don't be afraid. It's all right. You're going to be okay. I would tell her that. I would tell her that's a whole other show, Selwyn.
Yes, of course, a whole nother show.
Other show.
I'm so tempted. I'm so very tempted.
Uh-huh.
When you're quiet, and I mean really still, let's say you've just entered that space of stillness, what are you most present to?
I feel like I am right, you know, it's like almost like you're talking with somebody right in front of you. I'm present to an energy that's right in front of me. And I can speak to or listen to that energy, that force in that moment and be guided by it. You know what I mean? I don't always have to ask a question or say anything. I can just listen. And it literally looks like you know, like a pilot light, like an energy, like a force. And actually, an organization that I'm starting, that I intend to do this work as a nonprofit predominantly, is called the Prana Project Foundation. And prana is a Sanskrit word for life force energy. And basically, when I'm in that moment of silence, or those moments of silence, I'm connected to my life force. My soul is connected to Source, is what I feel.
It speaks volume to the concept, to the teaching, to the idea, to the principle of be still and know. Right? There is no need to ask.
Yeah.
Just being still.
Yeah.
And you know. There's one question in the chat room I'm going to ask you, and then I have a few more questions for you. Sharon asks, what is the worst cancer case you have seen?
Oh, I've seen some pretty bad cases. To me, personally, the worst cases of cancer are the leukemias. You know, being trained at the National Institutes of Health and being exposed to stem cell transplant, you see a lot of patients who they have tried everything, and they have nowhere else to go. They have nowhere else to go except to come to a research institution and go on to a clinical trial. I've seen young people, 30-something years old, with leukemias who undergo transplant. Sometimes a transplant might not take, and within a few months, prognosis is poor and they pass on. I've seen some pretty sad cases. I can't even. It's very sad. It's very, very sad. So, yeah, but I think if I had to pick and choose, I wouldn't want to get a leukemia. When you have a breast cancer, 9 times out of 10, you have a solid mass. You can do surgery, you can do radiation. If it hasn't metastasized, that kind of thing, you can catch it early. But a lot of times, a leukemia, there's no such thing as catching it early. Either you have it or you don't.
Wow.
It's everywhere. It's in your blood. It's a cancer of the blood. So sometimes you just do what you can. Just do what you can.
Wow. You must have seen quite a bit.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit, and it's not that I don't think there needs to be modalities. For example, what's her name? Robin, the newscaster, who has overcome first breast cancer. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yes. She is a testament of, I don't know her personally, obviously, but I can tell from the spirit that she has, the type of human being that she is. She's a testament of what the union between spiritual strength and conventional medicine can do. I guarantee that Robin, she first had breast cancer, she survived that, and then she developed leukemia as a result of the treatment for the breast cancer. I mean, against all odds, and look at her now. And you look at her, and to me, I see a spirit that is so strong. That's half the battle. And then, you use the best that technology and things can give you, and you have this kind of outcome. But that's what I'm talking about.
You mentioned Robin, and you brought me present a friend I grew up with. I don't know if I should mention her name, but Adele. And she's a cancer survivor. And as you described Robin, that is what I think of Adele. One of the most beautiful spirits. She smiles. She advocates for cancer, for the cure for cancer. She has dedicated her life to doing that, committed her life to doing that. She's very passionate about surviving. And what touches me most about her is her smile. It's a smile that, well, I love smile. I mean, most of my friends know that I have a weakness for people smile. I think that's when the souls are talking to us. And when Adele smiles, it just, it awakens something in me, and it reminds me, not just how fragile life is, but how important it is for us to live. And how important it is for us to be gracious and to be grateful and thankful and to be. So when you mentioned Robin just now, I couldn't help thinking about Adele. She is definitely a burning light. I will introduce you to her one day. I will. I think you are two spirits that must meet.
I look forward to that.
Yeah,
but
I
I
will.
also want to say, we have to be responsible for the listening of the audience and remind people that we're optimizing. What we're talking about is optimizing the chances for cure, for restoring health. We're not always going to succeed. Okay, but we want to create an environment where success is likely.
I love that. What is it about your work, or your new passion? Let me shift that to your passion that feeds your spirit.
What is it?
Yes.
Well, Again, because I feel like I'm called to this work. I'm called to this work because I sort of stumbled onto it based on more intuition than anything else, and realizing that, you know, people are really yearning for a change in the way healthcare is delivered, because everybody knows what we're doing is not working. And I mean, it's something I said to my daughter that, you know, if I don't get paid to do it, it's okay. It's that kind of thing. I don't have to get paid to do it. I just want to impact and help somebody along the way, serve people. And I don't know, it's hard to explain, Selwyn. It's like, if I'm blessed to have another 30, 40, 50 years on the planet, the work that I do, not only would I like to see it continue on, you know, leave sort of a legacy of the work, provided that it helped somebody or helped people. But I want to know that one day I closed my eyes and I did something good for the planet. You know what I mean? So it's really so, we use this word again, it's so spiritual. That's all I can say about it. It's so spiritual for me, you know?
You know, I think it's okay. I think it's okay to use the word spiritual. I think we should not be afraid to use the words that come to us to best describe how we feel or how we are interacting with our environment. And if spiritual comes to you, then fine, so be it. It is spiritual.
Yeah, but I'm always mindful. You know, there are some people who don't ascribe to that way of thinking, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But I believe, whether we know it or not, we are spiritual beings having a physical existence.
But of course,
whether we acknowledge it or not, that's my belief. And so, you know, but I'm always mindful of some who might not believe in that philosophy.
What do you like to do on your days off?
Ooh, days off. Yes.
Is that a curse word in your profession? Is that a curse word in your profession?
I've worked towards getting days off. So actually, I'm off on Monday, which Dr. Lane was very surprised I got off on Veterans Day. But yeah, so after recuperating, getting some rest, you know, I would spend some time hanging out with the children. And that could be anything. That could be watching movies together, or, you know, going out to eat or something like that. Okay. That's because time is so short. There's not a whole lot to do in the day. I mean, time to do everything you want to do. But on my downtime, that's what I do. I'm sort of a home person, you know. What I need to try to do is to get out and do some riding my bike some more.
What is next for Dr. Dawn Elder?
So Dr. Dawn Elder is engaged in propelling her children through high school for one. She has one more year, and through college for the other one. She has about a year or so left. And you know, that's my focus. And then, in the meantime, creating the space for getting the Prana Project up and going, while assisting Dr. Elaine with her nonprofit as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to do. I'm excited about it all. You know, maybe I'll write a book one day.
Where will you be in 5 years?
Where would I be in 5 years? Oh, so in 5 years, I actually do not envision, what's the right word, officially engaged in the day-to-day practice of clinical medicine. When I mention that I'm a healer, actually I would like to transition in 5 years to more of the spiritual mind aspect of healing. So the Prana Project Foundation will be run by physicians like myself, but I wouldn't be engaged so much in that day to day.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
I would like to, this writing the book thing has been in the back of my mind. Maybe writing a book, being an author, being a speaker, lecturer kind of thing. Teaching people what I've learned along the way. That would be the thing.
And finally, a question I ask all my guests. What makes you laugh out loud?
A lot of things. A lot of things make me laugh out loud, Selwyn. I can be as goofy as anybody, to be honest with you. I think you've seen some of that. I think laughter is probably the best medicine. My mother, I grew up hearing her laugh. She has a very boisterous laugh. And I think I have some of that in me. It doesn't take much.
I said finally, but I am going to ask you this question. What surprises you most about when you're inspired to meditate or to commune with Source? What surprises you most about that?
What surprises me more now is how quickly I can get into that space. When I first started meditating, I would be so distracted. And I had to learn that, when you have the thoughts that pop through your head and things like that, and that it was okay, just let them be. Mm-hmm. So I used to do a lot of guided meditations so that I wouldn't necessarily get distracted. And so 5-10 minutes would go by and I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I doing? So it was a little bit, that was just me wanting to be perfect at it to begin with. But now it's much easier. Even with my prayers, because to me meditation is listening and praying is talking.
Yes.
Everything comes more natural now. It's really, really quick. So that surprises me, and it's surprising me how that state is becoming more interwoven in my day-to-day, moment-by-moment life.
So you're living the prayer.
Yeah. So like if I'm driving somewhere, I notice and I just want to be quiet. And of course, I can't close my eyes, but you can still be in a space of just listening and of awareness, even when you're driving or whatever it is, washing the dishes. If I find that I'm tired and I don't want to wash the dishes, I just translate that, turn it into a time to meditate, to just be. So that kind of thing.
Well, Dr. Elder, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation. Mm-hmm. Learned a lot. I hope our audience has learned a lot tonight as well. And thank you for being so courageous and so candid. And we look forward to having you back sometime.
Well, thank you, Selwyn. It was truly an honor to be here. Thank you to you and the audience for your excellent, excellent questions. And I look forward to coming back when I'm deep involved in the Prana Project and let you know what's going on then.
Wonderful. Please tell Dr. Aline that she missed the show. She missed a good show.
Well, she's in the air, so I forgive her. She can listen to the recording.
Okay. All right, well, good night.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Baby, I'm not gonna wait no more. You know that I love you, so this is what I gotta say. I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you come on, come on, come on. Hey, let's get it on. Let's get it on. Let's get it on.